Okay, this seems to be recording. I'm not even sure if I'm like audible. This video is not meant for like entertainment or for anyone other than myself to consume it. I'm gonna make it public anyway, cause why the fuck not? But it's not really meant to be like watched by you. To be like precise, that has no viewer retention. I'm probably gonna be pausing very long periods of time. So like I don't see the point of you watching this video, honestly. I'm just making it public because why not, you know? But because like I'm not like embarrassed and afraid enough to like make something like this private or unlisted. But it's not really meant to be watched, I guess. Weirdly enough, I'm kind of making it as sort of like a journal for myself. It's a bit of a public journal because like theoretically, even though like it's not meant for consumption, it's not meant for this video to be watched. It's gonna have long pauses as it's like I'm winging this completely. I'm just talking off the top of my mind. Um, yeah. So what's on my mind then, right now? Cause and why like implicitly from the fact that I turned on the camera and started recording this video, it is implicit that I have something to say. And I did have something to say, but I kind of forgot. It's about this book. I mean, you might know this book. It's a very very famous book. It's The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, the man Eckhart Tolle himself. And I kind of stopped at a random point just to kind of like because it just kind of hit me that I want to speak on camera for some reason. I don't know why. I stopped at page 130, where it's talking about relationships, and it's a really random point. I didn't really stop at like a checkpoint or like one of these symbols to think or whatever. But well, I wanna like I haven't finished the book yet because like I'm just at page 130 and like I've I'm not sure if I'm even like allowed to talk about like to read out loud some things in this book or like maybe it's copyright. I don't know. Because like, even though I'm not making any money of this video, YouTube is a bit just weird because like it doesn't allow like forms of copyright even though I'm not making any money out of it and I'm clearly like showing the person that made the stuff. But I don't know. Maybe this book is like because he's enlightened. Maybe he won't do anything to me. I don't know. But yeah, I've read about this much this much, and this is the left. How much is left? So there is quite a lot left, you know. But from this much up until page 130 that I've read, I've kind of just binged it honestly because I'm going through a really weird time right now. Like I've been working hard and being disciplined. Well, actually, I'm not even sure. I was just like following like a schedule and cold calling, uh, muscle training, going through pain, going through kickboxing, getting my ass beaten, getting punched in the stomach to the point of like very acute pain, that sort of shit. I guess you could say I'm working hard or something. I don't know. I'm not even sure what that means. I'm not even sure how I can compare myself to someone who works hard or something, but hmm. Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on this book, like, on one hand, it kind of scares the fuck out of me, but you know, it scares the fuck out of me or my mind, you know, because like, who else is supposed to be scared about this book? Like my ego and my mind. What else? You know, because like apparently the true me that is within, and but whatever. Like about this man Eckhart Tolle and what he's writing, like when my mom and my sister really curiously asked me why I bought this book, I don't buy books that often. Like I rarely buy books. I just read them at the library, you know. But Cărturești is called like a bookstore in Romania, and I don't buy books often because I can just read them there. But this book, I just kind of like thought like what would be the most high priority thing right now, and that would be my mind, you know. And I feel like this book kind of like because I've read it before. Like 1 year ago, I've started reading it, and I read it up until the pain body part, right? About there, and it was very very intriguing, but it's I just kind of left it, and now I started again, and I'm a different person now than I was 1 year ago. So it's like a different person started reading it, a different Paul, a different me, you know. So I had a different reaction, and I had a lot, like it came at a lot bigger impact. Like as soon as I started reading it in the library, my eyes got a little bit watery. Like I felt from his story, like also his suicidal story, and everything that he's saying, really, literally every single word, I felt a really, really massive amount of power, like power and wisdom. Even though, like, I cannot logically, like, I'm not in no position to like tell whether what he's saying is true or false, wise or stupid, or judge it in any or label it in any sort of way. I cannot do that. I don't know anything about this shit. I don't know anything about spirituality. I don't know anything about this stuff. For some reason, even though like logically and by my mind I know nothing, I feel a weird, immense amount of power in these words. Like they're like these words are clearly like coming from a place of immense power. And this is why I feel like, for example, when my mom and my sister asked me why I bought this book, um, it was the last copy, you know, and I the moment I felt so much power from like reading the beginning, I just decided, fuck it, I'll buy it. This cannot wait 3 or 4 days. This cannot wait. I want to do this now. I want to read this now, you know. And my mom and my sister, like, just weird questions. I don't understand these people, man. Like, I was trying to explain to her what he was saying in some sort of way, like this stuff about no mind, this stuff about awakening, this stuff about this stuff, and she just asked me, what does he do for a living? Oh, he makes money out of this book. How does he make money? Like, is he an entrepreneur? And I'm like, what? What the fuck are these questions? Like, we're talking about spiritual awakening here, and you're asking me what this man does for a living and how he makes money, and what his attitude is towards me. I don't understand what the hell was going on in her head for her to ask these questions. Sometimes I just don't understand what people are thinking. Like, I'm talking about one thing, and they just kind of like go on a tangent that is like completely unrelated and completely like, what? You know, like, who fucking cares? And like they're like, I'm not sure if I should trust this man. I'm not sure. Maybe he's lying. Maybe he's a scam artist or that sort of shit. Like, this is what I hear from them, man. And I'm like, I think people that like, I'm not sure. Maybe there's not many. There's not many people that have this such shallow thinking. But like, uh, I think none of these people that would be like suspicious of him, I think none of them are actually listening to what he's saying. Like, if you were to like genuinely pay attention to every single word this man has written and said, like, it's not even about like judging whether he's lying or not, or truth or not, or stupid or intelligent or anything like that. These words go beyond all of that shallow, tiny, cutesy stuff. Like, it's something far beyond, with far greater power here. Like, you know, and I'm not like, genuinely, when I read something, generally, I'm not the type of guy to judge. I just consume the information at a place of no judgment. Typically, you know, I'm not like, I don't know why people are so quick to like search for, like, they're so quick to like um wonder, is this true or not? Where's the scientific evidence? Or what is this? What is that? But whatever. This is about me. This is not about those people that have shallow thinking. And I wouldn't call myself more wise than them, but I think like I'm more of a seeker than everyone else. I like seek stuff a lot, and I'm always on the search. You know, I'm always looking for something. I don't quite know what it is, but I'm looking for something with a lot more intensity than other people are, you know. That's what kind of led me to this book to begin with, because like I was thinking that my mind is not helping me, and you know. And anyway, let's just fuck this stupid shit about judging and um, scam or not, or whatever the fuck these people. Fuck them. Fuck these people. I don't even want to think about them right now. I'm like, I don't even know why I brought this up. What's important is what I feel right now on the inside, just me alone, because I'm isolating myself. I'm not like, I just want to be on my own for now, because like I'm going through like a really like, for some reason I don't know, like this book has awakened really really hostile reactions from my mind while reading it, and eventually like when I was in the park today, like today was a nice beautiful sun outside, great weather, people and stuff, and for some reason my mind was like the exact opposite. Like I felt so much powerlessness, so much weakness, so much like everything in my life is suddenly hard and scary and fear and just powerlessness, just like fragility, futility, like so much like this negative low energy stuff. Like I was barely walking, bro. I don't know why. I don't know why this is happening. I don't know. Is this my mind reacting to this book in a hostile way, like a parasite, trying to convince its host to not not shine the light on it or whatever? But I'm not quite sure what's going on. But like, this was really like I cannot keep going like this, because like this is not a problem of discipline or anything anymore. Like I don't like, as I said in my previous videos, I've kind of come to the conclusion that discipline and motivation and addiction, these things don't really exist. It's like, just from me, what I've observed is just different versions of me, you know. And this me, like discipline, you don't really do it because you're disciplined. You do it because in the moment you feel good about doing it. Something gives you like a kick, or like um it is pleasure, it is satisfaction that makes you disciplined. People that are disciplined just get a kick from doing something even though they don't feel like it. But like I had that too, you know. But it's like it's illusory. It's not really real. Like, cause like genuinely, a moment can come where you're so fucked up where that like this illusion of discipline doesn't cut it anymore. You need something more powerful. You need something more powerful than this puny shit like discipline and fuck that shit. You know, like you need something way more powerful. You need something that goes beyond that. Well, I don't know about you. I don't know about you, but I feel like I need something that goes far beyond that to continue, because this shallow stuff just doesn't cut it anymore. Like, because like 1 day, 1 hour, I'm something. I have thoughts of color. I see my purpose. I see my meaning. I see everything that I'm supposed to do. And the next moment, I see nothing. I'm just numb and empty, and well, not empty in a good way, like numb and like there's nothing, you know. And when the numbness comes, nothing really matters anymore. Like no matter what I do, I don't see what the point of what I'm doing. And I thought previously that the solution is to just search for a flow state, just keep doing something. But then a real weird feeling came as I continued these days of just perfect routine and following a perfect routine and doing the hard stuff early in the morning, and doing the easier, more good stuff later in the evening. And eventually, like, something just broke in me. Like, something just. Because I felt like I was not free, you know? I felt like I wanted to be free, and I felt like I'm caging myself. And then, like, so much contemplation, bro. But eventually, like, I was like, okay, fine. I'm gonna let myself be free. I'm just going to do whatever I want. I'm gonna go to the park and read a book. That's what I wanted to do. And now, I kept doing that for a couple days. And now today, like, even though I did exactly what I wanted, I felt anything but free. I felt, even though I was in the park, I was in nature, the sun was bright outside, I could go wherever I want, I could do whatever I wanted. I was reading this book, which was my conscious choice. I felt caged. I didn't feel free. And I was barely even walking. I was barely even moving. I was barely even moving my body. I feel tired, and I guess my mom just kind of gave me some interesting advice. She said that this is because of the season, like early in the, what was this called in English? Spring. Like early in the spring, sometimes you get like like if the temperature varies, you get like really weird, like intense tiredness. That may affect you mentally too. Whatever, man. These are like, well, compared to what this book is saying, these are just little details. Like it's not significant, you know. But what's important is that like I feel like this discipline and motivation, all this crap just doesn't cut it, man. Like, and what this book says, man, like it really fucks with me because like, you know, the example comes at some point in the book too. Like, how do you teach a fish to fly? Like, if a fish has been swimming its entire life, all it saw is water. How do you teach it to fly? You know, that's exactly me. That's probably everyone else. I mean, I do have an ego, but like I do have like an intellect that and like an intelligence that is like so open minded and so critically thinking that I can comprehend this book somewhat with my mind, and I can understand that it's not bullshit. Like I can understand that it's like, how do I say it? Like it has meaning and power to it, and there's something, I cannot really tell it for sure, but there is something that is deeply true in this book, but I cannot quite tell what it is. Something just fits. Something just fits in this entire puzzle that is the universe in here. And I mean, right now, as I'm recording this, I'm like in a very shitty place because I'm exactly like coming back to the park and feeling this powerlessness, this weakness, this frail, like this weird like I don't see the point. How is this helping me with anything? This feeling. How is this helping me with anything? You know. What the fuck did I want to say? And yeah, this book touched on a lot of stuff that is like very sensitive to my mind. Like as a little, cause like these people that like don't even tell what's the point of like controlling your mind and being above your mind. Like these people haven't like had much conflict, but for me, throughout my life, like I think I have gone through enough shit and enough suffering provoked by the mind to the point where like I should have gotten some sort of awakening by now, you know. And I guess in some forms this stuff kind of comes anyway, but I know that for some reason it seems to be a pattern that like very intense amounts of suffering sometimes just kind of do a click and a flip and the twist, and they turn into an enlightenment, into an awakening, you know. And I feel like I should have already gone that by now because like I've already gone through like mostly in my like childhood and the teenager period, I've gone through like very intense periods of like immense dissatisfaction and depression and just all the negative shit possible, you know. Like and really bullshit, not like meaningful stuff. Like for example, the most bullshit thing that my mind has ever done to me in my life was when I was a kid and a teenager. It makes me sound old. I'm just 20, bro. It's not that far. It's not that long ago. But for a long time in my life, before I started meditating, I I was afraid of like what people call oblivion after death, like nothingness after death. You know this concept. I was so terrified of that that I was just scared out of my mind every single night. Every single night was pure torture, just torture that didn't end. It was this in like it was a feeling of just being carried like on a factory. What is that called? What the thing that moves the stuff? It felt like I was on a train that was heading towards hell. I felt like my destiny, because like for me, like it was always like a mystery to me, and it was like what led me to have intense hatred for atheists and despise them really, really, and despise science very deeply, because what they were saying was creating in me a really like really like what they were saying was very horrid to me. Like for me, nothingness. I'd rather be in hell. I'd genuinely rather be burning in hell and like genuinely be burning and fucking suffering nonstop than be nothing. You know, like than be in oblivion. I find oblivion and nothingness like the worst hell there is, and that's what usually that was what was my went in my mind. I don't hate atheists anymore because I realize like just like any other human being, they are looking to do something good. You know, they didn't create atheism as like as I said in my previous videos. If you watched any of that stuff, I've already talked about this, but basically like I've realized that atheists like they do what they do and they believe what they believe because they're against like the churches and the religions that for a long period of time have manipulated and indoctrinated people because they used like the words the holy like of the Bible and stuff and twisted them in such a way that they can control the population and dumb people down. You know, that's what the past did. You know, the atheists are against that, as is as they should. You know, and they created atheism as a form of rebellion to rebel against this stuff, and that's purely positive. Like, there's nothing negative in that, and that's a good thing. Atheists are doing something good. They're not bad people, you know. But I feel like nowadays they ended up ended up like doing exactly what they hated religion for doing. Like now I feel like atheism is like the most popular form of indoctrination. This sort of like blind belief in science, which as I've talked in my previous videos and explained why I feel like science is kind of ironically turned into indoctrination, because like people these days, like if you tell them that scientific fact, they're like, well, there's no doubt. If you tell them it's a scientific fact that their life is miserable and they would be miserable for the rest of their life, they will believe that, because how can you doubt a scientific fact, you know? But I've explained how something can be a scientific fact and be false at the same time, you know? Because there's no such thing as fact, you know? Like science is just working on empirical observations, which are um, which are modeled into data, and that data is then like then a system is created to like reproduce that data in a way that is easily comprehensible to the human mind, you know. That's what the scientific method does, you know. But it's not like saying it's not perfect would be an understatement. Like it's largely faulty. Like science is always wrong and it always corrects itself. That's the state in which it's continually in, and scientific fact is not really fact. It's just an interpretation of empirical data, and that interpretation is made by human beings, just like the same human beings that interpreted the Bible in the church. They're just interpreting what is in the Bible. They're using their own puny human mind to interpret that stuff, and maybe even twist it. And scientists can do the exact same thing because there's no such thing as fact, really. I explained it. Like you can literally take a scientific fact and data, and just interpret it in such a way that it follows your narrative. You know. So science is not powerful. I think I've said this so many times. If you're like a person that has watched my other videos and stuff, like I think I've already repeated myself to you like hundreds of times with this stuff. I'm sorry, but yeah, I'll shut up about that for now, because other than science and atheism and all that stuff, there's more important stuff to talk about here. Like, I was against that, and like now I realized, now that I've come to a point of like a bit greater wisdom than what I was previously. I realized that like atheists promoting this idea of like nothingness after death, because like I was always shocked, how the fuck are they not terrified of that? How are they in peace with that? And if you ask an atheist like Why are you not terrified of the concept of nothingness after death? They will answer some bullshit like, um, it's well, there is nothingness, so you cannot suffer in nothingness. There's just peace. So I'm like, what do you mean peace? There cannot be peace when it's nothing. There is nothing, you know. And for some reason, when I think of nothing, my mind goes like it's terrifying, like it's infinite loneliness, like it's infinite isolation, you know. And their mind goes, oh, it's peace because there's no pain, you know. So what's really going on here is that nothingness, just like the fourth dimension, is impossible to conceive by the human mind. And all our minds are just making faulty interpretations of what nothingness means, which is just leading to confusion and chaos and bullshit. That's all it leads to. Like, nobody is smart in this discussion. I was stupid, they were stupid, everyone is stupid. Nobody is smart in this discussion because nothingness doesn't make sense. Nothingness is not like a concept that is like it's not touchable. It's not discussable. It's a concept that doesn't exist. Like, whatever now. But yeah, either way, regardless of me becoming wise, I'm still very sensitive to this topic. And Eckhart Tolle, like when I read this book, I feel like there's a way higher wisdom talking to me. Like there's a way higher power talking to me, a higher wisdom, you know. And Eckhart Tolle has like a power and stability in his words that you really feel like these words will not change. These words are absolute. These words are you know, like, and hearing like at some point him talking about emptiness and nothingness and like deep sleep. Oh, well, I really found it interesting, like deep sleep, like when dreamless can sleep, being us returning to the unmanifested, as he calls it, like the state of being in nothingness, which heals us and is good for us. So basically he's saying that the thing that I've been most terrified of in my entire life is actually the best and greatest and most positive thing there is all along. Obviously my mind and my mind cannot possibly react positively to this. Whenever I read this book, for some reason I feel like an intense tension in my chest, like all my mind and my ego is resisting it and being hostile towards it, like continuously, because my entire being is scared of every single word in this book. I know, I can feel that every word is more powerful than I am. I can feel that this man definitely sees something, sees some things very clearly that we are not able to see because of the fog of our minds. This man sees it all, you know, clearly. And it's very simple. There's nothing to think about. He just sees it and it's there. It's incredible, really. And even though my mind and my body and my everything is like terrified of this, I keep reading through and I keep trying to return to the present. And I guess a silver lining might be that, I don't know, somewhere deep inside me I've kind of like, for some reason I kind of had this conception that, like, you know, like, I do say I'm controlled by my mind and all that stuff, but like somewhere deep inside me, ever since I was born, ever since I was a little kid, isn't the mind like already under control? Like, how can your mind control you? And like really, if you're just like I've always had this thing. If you're just present, like there's really nothing to disturb you. There's nothing there. And like this book kind of like, it's very hard to explain in words. But I felt like I've already known like this thing ever since the beginning. And for some reason, even though I've known it, I haven't known it at the same time. As I said, this video is not meant for viewers like you. If you're not me, this video is not meant for entertainment or like any sort of like or even learning. Honestly, this video is not meant for anything. So if you're watching this, like I told you, like a lot of the stuff that I say is like it's just what comes to me, and it might not really be useful to you. Maybe you're looking for something interesting in this video. Maybe there is. I don't know, but I'm not saying this video is just full of garbage that you don't understand, that you cannot conceive. But like there might be some good shit in this video. The only thing I'm saying is like don't have any expectation. That's it. Because there might be something interesting here, but there definitely is. But yeah, like how can I say this? Like I don't know why I'm so scared. Why am I so scared of enlightenment? Why is this concept of having no problems and no goals and nothing to crave, nothing to strive for, and no suffering? For some reason it scares the fuck out of me. It really, really is like denied by my mind, you know. But like because it's just like teaching a fish to fly. Like I've been identified with my mind my entire life. How can you possibly tell me that I am not my mind, you know? I've been my mind my entire life. But at the same time, there is a lot of power in this book. But I kind of tried to make it a positive twist, you know? I kind of tried to interpret it, and it's my ego in my mind that does it anyway, but try to interpret it in a way that is not terrifying, in a way that is the opposite of terrifying, in a way that is the greatest thing there is, and that is that the first parts of the master key system, the exercises in part 1, 2, and 3, the master key system first ever exercise is sitting with an erect spine and not lounging, and just sitting in your thoughts. It's okay if you think, but just don't move your body. That's it. Just sit and think and be in your thoughts and let them roam as they will, is what the first exercise in the master key system says. Then the second exercise is the same as before, except attempt to shut off the mind, attempt to stop thinking, and it says you might be only able to do this a couple seconds at a time, but keep practicing, you know. So the second one is to stop your mind. The third one is exactly like the previous one, except you also consciously relax your body. And the master key system says like the greatest manifestations and the greatest power of the mind is unlocked, especially when your body is relaxed. And I was like, this power of now, one way to see it, labeled by my mind, I guess, is basically the first parts of the master key, but like in very high detail, like a book that goes very, very into detail on specifically this step of turning off your mind and what that implies. And basically, according to this book, The Power of Now, already by having done that, you have already become a superhuman, basically. Yeah, that's true. Eckhart Tolle is a superhuman. I cannot say it any way else. Apparently, my mom all of a sudden told me he's 70 years old. I've always thought he was 40. I've also seen him. I've seen him speak. You cannot tell me that man is 70 years old. But somewhere in his book, he also mentions like how you can stop aging from this, from being present. Wait 1 second. Eckhart Tolle age. Is he really? He's 76. He looks 40 to me all day. This man hasn't aged a single bit since his enlightenment. Jesus Christ. Oh, it's Eckhart Tolle and Oprah Winfrey. Nice. I felt like... Oh my god, this man is incredible. This man is really incredible. But I felt like, um, one second. Let me. Actually, I don't want to turn on the light right now, but on the back of the book it says, the power of now can transform your thinking. The result, more joy right now, Oprah Winfrey. And I was like, this is kind of shallow. Like, what do you mean more joy right now? Like, all she basically says all this book is about is just being joyful, but being even more joyful than before. I felt like she basically insulted this entire book and called it puny. Like, to me, that's what it seems like. This book is about something way deeper and way more profound and incredible and beyond words than more joy right now. But, you know, I guess they're friends, so seeing by Google Images, so it's fine. And she promoted his book after all, but what the fuck am I saying? This doesn't matter. But yeah, wait, let me look in the chapters and just say my thoughts about this entire thing. Like, apparently, because like I've always like in the master key system, I was like, while reading, I was like, man, I want to manifest quick, but the master key system, Charles F. Handel says that I have to go through the steps patiently to get there. And I was like, fuck, I have to turn off my mind. That's so shit. I want to just manifest shit and be, like, make my mind just. But apparently, according to this book, just shutting off your mind is already like superhuman ability, and that alone, just stopping there, is already going to make your life like probably infinitely successful, you know, that alone. But the master key system also goes into like shutting off your mind, becoming present, becoming here in the now, and then using your mind to its fullest degree, so you can have superpowers, basically, you know, achieve anything, do anything, put anything into existence, as the mind does. Because, like, you know, this book, The Power of Now, does not tell you to just tell your mind to fuck off either. It just says it to use it like as a tool and not let it use you, right? State of presence. Yeah, I mean, but I keep getting the feeling that I cannot do it. I cannot be present. Like the mind always takes over and all that stuff. And for some reason I feel so horrible and so shit. But I don't know where it's coming from. I feel like it's a very negative reaction to this book. At the same time, I'm craving to achieve my goals. I'm craving to like seek. One second. Let me just turn off the light. Cool, and I guess I'm making this journal to like remember my moment right now, this moment of powerlessness, this moment of being lost, feeling powerless, feeling weak, afraid, frail, faltering. I feel like life is too much for me right now, you know. But I think that also the opposite can be true, you know, like if you think about it, everything is easy, you know. If you put yourself in the life of a Spartan and you take like a Spartan warrior into this time right now, like cold calling people, really, what's so hard about that? You just talk to people. What's so hard about selling? You just talk to people. What's so hard about creating a business? You just press some shit on the keyboard and boom, it's done. What's so hard about doing anything, you know? And really, our lives, the truth is, and I feel like the true absolute truth is that life is extremely easy. And there's also something I really liked in the book, something that didn't create a negative reaction in me, but instead was like, okay, finally something that I feel like is positive. He said that if you're truly present, everything you do every single second is easy, like extremely easy, everything you do, no matter what it is. And I feel like, yeah, Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, but you have to be present. Like every sort of like human difficulty just comes from the mind. Cause like you're never like feeling like if you're like truly present and truly in the moment about what you're exactly doing, it's impossible to call it difficult because difficult is just your mind like predicting something and like making it seem hard by putting it like in this psychological time frame, you know? Like I'm gonna run for 2 hours, fuck, or like I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna have to be there for 2 hours pushing my muscles. Fuck 2 hours? Fuck me. How can I do this 2 hours? That's so hard. But that only comes before you start doing it because it's a thought. It's not actually like real difficulty. Once you get into doing it and you are present actually doing it, it's easy, you know. But the positive twist that I'm trying to bring on this book, and I feel like I don't know, man. I feel like dissolving my ego and just being present enough to like let everything go is like might be too much for me right now. I don't know. Like cuz like he said something about journeys too, like cuz like if you can just be enlightened and happy from doing nothing and nothing matters anymore and every thought is but a thought, then isn't that mean that like but then what's the meaning of life then? What's the point? Like if you have no suffering, if you have no craving, if you have no none of that, like what's the point of even living? You know, what's if you're just happy just like that by just existing? You know, like for life to have a meaning, there has to be suffering, there has to be war, there has to be conflict. For every hero to exist, there must be a villain. For every villain to exist, there must be a power struggle. Because like if the entire world is just enlightened, then everyone's just sitting around smiling and looking at trees and nothing really matters. But you can at the same time it just fucks with my mind, bro. How can this be? Like because obviously he's right and I'm wrong. Like there's no way around it. This man is enlightened. You can not call him wrong. You cannot. And I can feel it in his words. These are not words that you can say, "Oh, you're not right." It's not. No. Maybe at best you can say that he might have made a mistake in trying to form into language a certain thing that he's perceiving, but that's the closest you can get to calling him wrong on anything, really. Like you cannot argue with an enlightened person. They're not like because like when you have two minds arguing, there's right and wrong, there's fact and logic, there's stupid and smart, there's all these like polarities, all these contemplations, all this stuff, you know. But when it's you versus an enlightened person, then the conflict doesn't even exist. You're just like I don't even know how to say it. But obviously he's right and I'm wrong. You know, that's one thing that I'm not even questioning. But my mind just can't accept it. My ego just can't accept it. My ego just cannot accept being dissolved. If I'm not Popescu Paul, then who the fuck am I? If I'm not, because like all these things that I'm craving attention from people. I'm craving the feeling of mattering to people. I'm craving the feeling of being important. I'm craving people depending on me and people. I'm craving people wanting me around. I'm craving financial power to show everyone else around me like how life really works. That abundance really is a thing and they've been stupid this entire time. I want to prove people wrong. I want to make people around me happy. I want to buy my parents a big ass villa because my parents have been poor their entire life and I want to show them, look, like you guys have been wrong. You guys I want to become successful so I can prove my friends wrong and get them on my side. I want to discover the world. I want to find so many people. I want to connect with people. I want to do funny shit. I want to I want to live in Tokyo. I want all this stuff. And fuck it. I kind of do want attention from girls. I'm not going to be dishonest right now. And it's kind of weird because like I don't want love, I just want attention. That's it. And you're telling me that all of that is just an illusion, and like I shouldn't even want it, I shouldn't even crave it. But at the same time, to obtain it, I need to become above my mind, because obviously, if I become, like, say hypothetically, if I became enlightened, then I think all these objectives in my life would just be easy. Like there will not be any difficulty anymore, because all difficulty just comes from the mind, kind of being like faulty, just making you feel fear, making you feel anger and stuff like that is just unnecessary. Everything the mind does is just kind of, it's a useful tool, but like if let unguarded, it just kind of fucks you over. So if I can climb to a level above my mind, I can, as following the master key system, I can follow the laws of the universe, be in accordance with them, and just get what I want. The master key system, like, it's a bit of an understatement to say I'm interested in it, because like it's literally the book that solves everything in the universe, and is like the guidebook to like literally do and achieve anything ever. So like it's not like an interest. It's like I see what people don't see. And I'm not quick to call something bullshit, because I do not consider myself smart enough to call something bullshit. Because people, I don't know, people just think they're really, really smart. But yeah, but I'm humble. I don't consider myself smarter than the person who was writing a book. But at the same time, to like apply it to my life, I use my own judgment, because I feel that that's what's right. But I never really call myself above anything else, and I don't judge while reading. I just vibe with it. If I vibe with it, it resonates something for me. I feel something from it. Then there is something there. It's about seeking, because from seeking comes everything. For example, in this The Power of Now book, I feel a behemoth of power coming from this man. Power, it's just power. But at the same time, of course, if I became like somewhat enlightened, I could continue in the steps of the master key system and start using my mind to my advantage. And from there, everything is history. From there, everything my life is just, if I say so, it is. But at the same time, to achieve this, I need to stop wanting to achieve it to begin with. Isn't that fucky? Isn't that stupid? Isn't like, because like, how the fuck does this even work? Like, it's like, I've heard, like, for example, on the Waking Up app or something, like, people want to be enlightened, and the fact that they want to be enlightened is what's keeping them from being enlightened, because the state of enlightenment is not wanting anything. So what the fuck is going on? All of this is really confusing. Like, how do you, like, only you understand my dilemma here? Like, it's like, and they're not wrong, because I can understand logically what they're saying. My mind is not that stupid. Even though this stuff is not meant to be understood with the human mind, my mind is like open enough to like kind of be able to put it into some sort of frame that doesn't completely crumble. But of course, it only goes so far. At the same time, on the positive flip note, I do kind of feel like, started to feel like got this weird feeling like, I kind of remember this from some time ago, that I kind of had this conception at some point, weirdly enough, that wait, like, what is the mind really? Like, there is no mind, like, I just had it wasn't like it's some sort of an way. I don't even know where this is coming from. Where did this is this coming from? Why is this coming to my mind? This idea that I am already free. This idea that I am already present. It's not. It's definitely not true. Because if I were, it's like right now while filming this video, I feel completely present. Not completely, a bit partially present. Like I feel more present than usual. I don't know why. It's not. It's not. Like, of course it's not. If I were completely present, then I would be way happier right now. But there's definitely some background music going on. There's some background static noise of thoughts and stuff. I definitely don't have enough presence to like keep them. But yeah, like I decided to just dedicate my time to reading this book before continuing in the Master Key system because I feel like this book goes on very deeply in a lot of things that the Master Key system doesn't really precisely say. Because the Master Key system doesn't say like, it just says like stop thinking so we can put some good thoughts in there, right? But it doesn't say that the stopping of thinking to begin with opens an entire new gate of existence and like unlocks your true you, opens the door for just infinite joy, love, and wisdom. It doesn't say that. It just says shut off your mind so we can get this shit started. So if you just read it in the Master Key system, it sounds like what I'm doing right now is just a means to an end. It's just like it's like sweating the small stuff. That's what it feels like. You know, the expression sweat the small stuff. You have to do something boring and unsatisfying to get to the good shit. But no, with this, the power of now, I realize that the Master Key system just doesn't mention it for some reason. But shutting off your mind, like literally the first step, is already a behemoth of power and wisdom and everything positive possible, you know. So then what is the problem? Then why am I feeling pissed? Like not pissed, but like why am I feeling fear? Why am I feeling this uncertainty? Why am I feeling this powerlessness? Where is this coming from? Well, I don't know. Where is this coming from? I don't know why. It doesn't really come from somewhere. It just feels like the way things are. But it's not like it's definitely not true because like a couple days ago I was feeling the exact opposite. It's just that when my state of mind changes, like it feels as if a different state of mind has never existed to begin with. My mind does this weird thing. Like always when the state of my mind is different, it feels like no other state of mind has ever existed. Like for example, when I feel depressed, it's as if I've never ever in my entire life not felt depressed. It's as if I have been this way my entire life. It's obviously an illusion because like there's no way that to be true because like there's literally evidence for that to not be true because because I write in my journal like holy shit I'm happy, holy shit things are going well, holy shit blah blah blah, you know. So it's definitely not true, but I don't know why my mind does this illusion, like as if the state of mind that you have right now is the only state of mind that ever existed, you know. Well, what's up with this illusion? Where does it come from and why is it like this? But for some reason right now I feel like I am weak, I'm powerless, I have no chance of doing anything in life, and everything is just, and what really is the option? Like my greatest dread right now is like me just slowly staring away from my goals. Of course, it's not gonna go as bad as to me eating fast food or some shit, but I'm just gonna start like going really easy on myself by just like spending every day reading books and maybe meditating, maybe watching One Piece and just not doing the hard stuff, like the cold colors and stuff, just putting them on easy mode. It's not like stopping them completely, but just like, and not like push, like going more easy on myself. And what if this leads to wasting time? And what if this leads to me, like, cause like for some reason I'm really dreading the concept of me hitting the age of 21, and just not being successful, or like in some way like superior. And this is my ego, obviously, but I'm not at the point where like my ego is not me. Like I'm still at the point, even though I can achieve a little bit of presence, I still cannot fathom my ego not being me, you know? And of course, me being identified with my mind in my entire life, what this man is saying is feels kind of alien to me, you know? Like me trying to just look at a tree and trying to be as present as possible looking at that tree. I cannot I cannot grasp what this man is saying. Like it doesn't. No matter how much presence I put into it, I don't feel like there's like being emanating from something. Whatever this means, but it just means that my presence is not strong enough. It's not intense enough. You know, that's all it means. It means that my mind comes so fast that I don't even notice what this man is saying. That's really what it is, right? And really, like, for me to achieve my goals, becoming at least to some extent enlightened would literally make them easy and achievable. But at the same time, if I become enlightened, I probably won't want to achieve them anyway. Anymore. Which is stupid. Like, what? You know, like, it's really, really upside down. Because, like, apparently it's not me that wants this. It's not me that craves this. It's my ego that is identified with me. It's not like, it's my mind, but... Well, this is my mind trying to grasp it. Holy fuck. This book is like... It's hell of a tough battle, man. The silver lining I'm trying to see here is that the way I'm trying, because like I have to come to some conclusion. Like, for example, Jose Onfroy, Dwayne Ricardo Onfroy, the rapper called XXX Tentacion. Like by age 20, he was famous, successful, wealthy, and like mentally advanced, you know? And I feel like I have the same potential as him, or even greater energy than him on some level. Of course, comparing yourself with others is bad, but I like. I'm not comparing myself in a negative way. I'm just feeling like my destiny is to like become to some extent like young and successful as well. You know, to like just like that. You know, because I feel like I should be the type of person that evolves very quickly, just like that. Not doesn't have to wait to age, you know. But and I feel like if I don't get that done, then my youth will be gone, you know. And like once you're like 30 years old, no matter how successful you are, I don't think you can be that promiscuous with girls and stuff. I think shit is interesting when it's all young adults, like 20, 23, 24, like that sort of stuff, right? So I feel like if I'm successful too late, then I just kind of miss the greatest shit of life, you know? Of course, that has to be an illusion. And I kind of know it logically, but I cannot like feel it to be an illusion. And it feels real. But I don't know, man. there's a lot of pain involved in this, and like this book is like has awakened a really really painful reaction in me. The silver lining that my ego and my mind is trying to like conceive to make sense of all this chaos is that the man is just interpreting what he sees in his own way, but there is absolutely no way in hell that being identified with your mind is better than being enlightened. No way in any way, shape, or form for that to be true. So, whatever I must be seeking, whatever I must be wanting, whatever I must be craving, whatever that must be good compared to what is bad, being at least to some extent enlightened should be the way, should be good. So it should be what I want. So me fearing it is literally madness. It's nonsense. It's madness because I'm fearing something that is entirely 100% good. So this means that it's just the way he interprets things that is waking up certain interpretations in my mind, and they're all wrong and they're all illusions. And for me to discover my own enlightenment in my own way, it has to be my journey. It has to be my truth, not your truth, not Eckhart Tolle's truth, not PewDiePie's truth, not your sister's truth, not your mother's truth, not your dog's truth, not my cat's truth. It has to be my truth, and only me knowing it in my own way, and then that's when everything becomes clear. And I see this as like becoming present, which means my mind does not control me anymore, but instead the higher me, the deeper me, the me that is like beyond my mind, because apparently there's a me beyond my mind. I don't know what that is. Like, whatever. Like for example, if you speak and you're completely present, just as Eckhart Tolle speaks, one person has like commented that like Eckhart Tolle speaks in a way that like he lets his words, he waits for his words to come out of him naturally. He doesn't like think or like get nervous or anything like that. His words just come naturally from within him. So he kind of like speaks at this perfect pace of absolute presence. You can like, and I think that was very interesting. But like, isn't that still his mind that's creating these words? Like, yeah, 欲しくなってきたな. Like it's this has gotten very hairy, very very hairy. But whatever, okay, whatever. Let's just fuck the terminology, as he said. It's just signposts. It's just, but yeah, I mean, I'm getting thoughts that try to make me feel better, like the thought that it has to be painful, it has to be hopeless, it has to be meaningless, because like that's what the adventure that every entrepreneur goes through. And literally all the entrepreneurs have had a point where everything just felt hopeless and painful and torturous and terrible and just hopeless again, until they got to the point of like crazy success and people call them lucky for it or some shit, right? It's like me going through this immense pain with my mind and stuff. It means that I should, at some point, start entering the turning point, at which point I become like above my mind. So the silver lining that my mind is trying to get through this stuff to like make everything seem better is that I'm just going to be above my mind. I'm going to be my real self, and in that way I will be able to only allow the stuff from my mind that is good. And my mind, as it's capable of pain and suffering, it's also capable of a lot of joy and bliss and fun, It's able of appreciating beauty, art, all that stuff. And maybe some of that comes from a place of no mind or whatever. But like for example, the joy and bliss that I had from video games when I was a little kid, maybe I can make that come back if I become present. And if I see this, if I see it this way, then it starts becoming apparent that it's nothing but a good thing, you know. And of course, by being present, my fear of death will should vanish entirely, because I don't know. I've already had this insight before, but like it feels like consciousness has no beginning and no end. So it's like impossible for like there to be nothing or something. You know, it's oblivion is just unicorns. You know, unicorns invented by atheism. So like you go somewhere, but who God knows where. You know, and that's the silver lining. I don't know, by just like letting myself speak like this, I've become a lot more present than I was while reading this book and feeling pain, you know. I don't know what's going on. Maybe this pain and suffering is necessary to awaken. But, you know, I don't want to have no goals. I don't want to have any aspirations. Eckhart Tolle says it in a way that you'll still have goals and aspirations, but they will be just for fun. It won't matter for you whether you achieve them or not. That's powerful. Like, I think that maybe, even though, like, this thing that we're doing here with all this presence and stuff is entirely a war against the mind. Because, like, the mind has all these parasites, as he calls pain bodies, all this stuff that, like, is against you, you know? And identifies with you and gains energy off of you. And, like, becoming present is literally against your mind. Like, it's literally, your mind shouldn't want it, because it says that just like any other entity in life, it wouldn't be far away from the truth to say that your mind might be a separate entity on its own. And maybe not just one entity, maybe multiple entities, many entities. And pain bodies that are dormant. Pain body in the book refers to like an entity. Like, it says that it would be pretty close to the truth to say that it's a separate entity from you, that it possesses you. It makes you angry. It makes you fearful. It makes you like, when it reawakens trauma. It says that like all forms of suffering come from a certain pain body that is like an entity that feels all the pain and becomes you, you know? And once you like become present of it, you can shine light on it, and just like a vampire that fucking goes in front of the light and just like burns, you know? Just that entity also in front of the light, it just diminishes in power. It becomes weaker and weaker until it deflates like a balloon and just disappears, you know, and it's just dead. Because nothing negative can survive in the light, you know? And the light is your presence. And I have had a point in my life. Wow, like making this video might have really helped me mentally, because like I'm like coming through a lot of ideas here. I just needed to like contemplate a little and like let these things like come to me a little bit. But like I've had a dilemma at some point of like at some point video games weren't fun anymore, and nothing was really fun in my life anymore, and I was just continuously like anhedonic. And I know for sure, as a fact, when I was a little kid, that some things were extremely fun and extremely positive. Like, video games were the happiness of my life. And I was enjoying them in my own way, not in any other person's way. I was seeing beauty where people didn't see it. I was seeing creativity and opportunity for fun and creativity in creating stuff where people didn't see it. You know, that's what I was when I was a little kid. And all those were gone when I was like, I hit ages like in 2019, I don't know how old I was, 5 years ago, like 15, you know? About that time, I was just like, everything just kind of became anhedonic. Nothing was really fun anymore. And I discovered this thing called meditation and mindfulness that kind of like was like, felt like this hope of waking up again the fun that I had as a child, you know? Because like, even though I do say, and I previously said that like, there's nothing positive about being a kid. There like all the stuff that adults say, that like, if you're a kid watching this and adults tell you that like You should treasure your time now because you will never get it again, and you will wish you became a kid again when you will be an adult. Never ever ever listen to that, because like I don't know what intention they have when saying that. Maybe they're saying like a pain or like fear or insecurity of their own, but like there is, being an adult is infinitely better than being a kid. Because like for me, when an adult tells me that like you are a kid right now, treasure your time as a kid because you will never get it again. And when you will be an adult, you will wish you were back in school. You will wish you you would be a kid again. And you know what this sounded like to me back in the day? It would sounded like your life is shit right now. It will be even worse. And like it sounds like it's only but getting worse from here. So whenever I heard those words, I was just in a state of dread when I heard out those words from an adult, because that's what it means. If you say like when you will be an adult, you will wish you will came back here. It just means like life is gonna get shittier and shittier. Life will be shit when it's adult. It's false. At least in my experience, it's false, and I think it's false in general. Like fuck it, it's false in general. It's not just me. Like there's nothing. Like being an adult is infinitely better than being a kid. When you're a kid, you're fragile. The world is huge, and you are weak and small. You have no freedom. Your parents basically keep you in a cage. They hold you by the hand. You cannot run away or walk away too far away from them because it's dangerous. You cannot do this. You cannot do that, and you're probably gonna receive a lot of terrors and traumas that you will not have as a young adult. Honestly, like now, like I feel like now that my childhood is over, like I feel like the worst and hardest and most horrible part of my life is over. And even that horrible part of my life, like I do still admit at the same time that the childhood had some like things that are like very very good. Like there was always a silver lining. To contrast with the horrible torture that I was going through as a child, because my mind was not evolved either, and I was scared every night of like oblivion after death, that sort of stuff, and that was torture. And like having these adults that are like huge and powerful compared to you being a little shit and being helpless, like if an adult wants to torture you or hurt you, you're fucked as a kid. You cannot fight back. You cannot, like, if a parent is like hostile towards you, you cannot fight back. You are forced to deal with whatever the world throws at you. Meanwhile, when you're a young adult, if someone fucks with you, you can beat them up, or at least try to, like you're not that weak, you're not that, yeah, whatever. But still, there are some like good things that I just kind of like that just kind of disappeared as my childhood went by, because like the horrible shit in my childhood contrasted with like my amazing love of video games and this feeling of bliss and joy and creativity and color and emotion. It was beautiful in video games, and it was gone eventually. And I felt like mindfulness would bring it back to me, and because like maybe this is the thing. Maybe I became anhedonic because my mind has taken over with negative shit, and I cannot. And maybe the key to being a kid again is just being present in what you're doing. So I meditated for a year and a half. I've come through a journey, and it took me back where I begun. Like now, a year and a half of meditation, over 10,000 minutes of meditating. Sometimes, like for some long periods of time, maybe even meditating 20 minutes a day, every single day, or 40 minutes a day. Continuously, like a year and a half. I've arrived exactly where I've begun. I feel like I'm a beginner again. I feel like I'm starting at zero again. I don't know what this is. I don't know why this is. It just is the way it is. I'm just moving on. I'm just moving forward in the present moment. But I don't know why it's like this, but yeah. And now this power of now thing, one way to see it, which is like a silver lining, a positivity in all the chaos that my mind is scared of, it might be just unlocking the joy and greatness in my life again, taking power of my mind. And a very important concept that I've like kind of internalized. I have it written in a journal. So let me see. Actually, you know what? Like I don't even need the journal. I remember it by my mind, so I don't need a journal. But here I'm telling you something that I've contemplated a couple days ago, and it was really, really hard problem. This, you might find this interesting as well, but it's something that I've like come up with myself. I haven't read this in any book. I haven't heard anyone ever talk about this. Um, it's something that I've just kind of come up with on my own because I realized that nobody really has the exact answer to this. So hear me out. This is a very interesting problem. I'm kind of curious what you think about this. Uh, but chances are, like, the answer I'm kind of expecting from you is that you will just give a quick answer that is like not very thought through, and you will think it's smart, but you've actually haven't like listened, paid attention to the problem. So like pay very close attention, and I want you to, before you give any answer, at least recognize that it's a difficult problem. It's difficult to answer. Because like if your answer has come from a place of difficulty and lots of thought, that means you might have understood correctly what I'm saying. If your answer just came easily, if your answer just came easily and just instantly, chances are you might be like a genius or like very, very like advanced to the but that's very rare. Like I think like as but like the highest chance is that you just didn't understand the question correctly. That's why your answer was quick. So hear me out. Here's what I've contemplated about. um I call this problem, let me just check if I'm still recording. 1 hour and 60 minutes. God damn, time flies by. Okay, so I call this problem, the problem that I've come up with, it's called suffering versus cleverness. That's also what I've called it in my journal. It's a problem of philosophy, of life. And it's a very fundamental question about life and how life works that I've come up with. That is very, very, very important. Because the answer to this problem literally like has crazy implications. Okay, so what is this problem? Suffering versus cleverness. It goes this way. Like, as you hear wisdom through life and people talking about what you should do and what you should not do to have a good life versus a bad life, like not eating fast food, going to the gym, all the self-improvement stuff, all that, um, you know, um, one thing has to be true and one has to be false. So, what is suffering versus cleverness? Uh, the problem goes as follows. Um, is the success of your life entirely determined by how much you suffer, or is it not? This is essentially a way to describe this problem. So, um, there are two main scenarios that this problem um, states, and the answer is either one or two in these two scenarios. But later on, I will tell you that there is a possibility for a caveat here. So the scenario number one is called suffering matters and cleverness is irrelevant. So either suffering matters and cleverness is irrelevant, or cleverness matters and suffering is irrelevant. So what does this mean? Suffering matters and cleverness is irrelevant means that every single piece of suffering that you will ever go through in your life will always reward you, no matter what kind that suffering is. And you're actually like I'm very like it's tempting to think this way because, for example, say, when Andrew Tate was asked what is the easy way to get a six pack, he said, "Why should it be easy? If it were easy, then it would have no value." A very wise answer, right? So it says that to get a six pack, you have to suffer through it so that you get the value of that stuff, And anyone trying to like, and also Hamza Ahmed, like the self improvement king himself, said that the greatest reason why you're not making gains in the gym is that you're not pushing yourself hard enough. You're not going through enough pain, and that's the tough truth to accept. You have to go through more pain, more suffering. So when we're talking about the gym, right? Suffering matters and cleverness seems to not matter at all. Like, if you cleverness means trying to avoid suffering strategically to get a reward without suffering for it, right? So, like, what this says, if you try to get muscle and become muscular and healthy without suffering, you're usually going to not succeed or miss something in the process. You know, so like using steroids definitely has its own caveat. There has to be a reason why not everyone is doing it, and it definitely has many horrible disadvantages. So here it seems like suffering is the answer and cleverness is not. Because like suffering means that everything you get in life has to has you have to pay a price of suffering for it, and you get it in the proportion to which you suffer. And cleverness means that suffering is avoidable and you can get stuff by being smart about it and getting it in the smart way, not in the hard suffering way. So using your mind to avoid suffering to get a reward in the easy path. That's what cleverness means in this problem, right? And by hearing Hamza Hamed and Andrew Tate about the gym and stuff, it kind of sounds like cleverness is not the case and suffering is the case. But this has pretty scary implications. You know what this means? It means that if you were to right now get out of your house naked and run outside naked with everyone staring at you and probably even calling the police, that might be one way to assure that you will be successful in life. Like, imagine how much you would suffer from that experience, how much fear, how much how horrible and torturous it would feel to just run away naked outside. So, or eat feces, just eat shit, right? Like, eating a piece of shit is going to be enough suffering and enough stomach pain and bodily pain and disease, and just you going through all of that will assure your success in life. This is what this theory says. Doesn't sound quite so true now, does it? So, like, if you say the following, like, how the fuck is going outside naked and running outside naked is supposed to give me success? How is eating shit supposed to give me success? Your suffering has to be thought through, and you have to suffer the right stuff to get the right success in life. This is what you must be thinking, where it means you're on the side of cleverness and you think suffering doesn't matter. Because if that is true, if suffering truly matters, not all suffering is equal. Like, suffering something that is you can suffer something that is meaningless and goes you nowhere, or you can suffer something that is meaningful, like going in the gym, and that's meaningful and gets you shit. Well, if that's true, then it means that the cleverness is the case. It means that if that is true, then it means that your success in life is not directly linked to suffering. So that means that there must be an easy way to get everything. So if that's true, then maybe there's truly a way to like stop suffering in the gym. Like, you might be feeling the same bodily pain, but like there's a way to like not make it suffering mental pain, right? And you will still get the rewards and the mental health and everything from that. God, I feel like nobody understands what I'm trying to say here. I feel like I was really shit at describing this problem. Okay, I'm going to try again. I'm going to start from zero. I mean, this video is not meant to be watched again, anyway, so I might be, like, talking about this problem in a video when I, like, know how to explain it clearly. Like Einstein said, if you cannot explain it clearly, then you don't understand it well enough. I do understand the problem very clearly and very easily, but for some reason the words just don't come out clearly. Okay, so I'm gonna start again. The problem is called suffering versus cleverness. What does suffering mean? Suffering means that every piece of suffering you go through in life, no matter what the category is, no matter what the kind of suffering is, there is also always a reward from it. And you will always get something from suffering. And suffering is always meaningful. It always has a reward, no matter what that suffering is. You could be depressed, crying in the corner. That has meaning, and it will make your life better in the end. Right? This is what suffering means. What does cleverness mean? Cleverness is the opposite case scenario. It's the case where your success in life is not necessarily dependent on how much you suffer. So you can get success in life by being clever, by making the right, smart, strategic decisions that do not require suffering. And you can be smart and wise enough to make the right decision to avoid suffering and get success in the smart way. So this is what cleverness means. And the problem is as follows: which of those is true? Is it true that all suffering leads to success and all suffering is rewarded, or is it the case that you have to make the smart choices and avoid suffering in your life to get what you want? Either one of those is true. These two are impossible to be true at the same time, because, for example, like it's impossible for them to be true at the same time, because like one answer that is might immediately come to your mind if you haven't thought this problem through correctly is, well, you have to suffer the things that are meaningful, and you get like suffering the right stuff, like for example suffering in the gym from a lot of pain and suffering by being disciplined and all that is good for you. But for example, the suffering of eating a piece of shit, that doesn't help you in your life. So the answer is biased. It's not the answer is not suffering and it's not cleverness at the same time. It's that you have to suffer the right stuff and avoid and not suffer the shitty stuff. Like for example, like eating a piece of shit is like immense suffering, but it seems to get you nowhere, you know? It just seems to give you disease in your body. Or like cutting your wrists. That's a lot of suffering and a lot of pain, right? But it doesn't seem to get you anywhere, right? Well, if you say that, then you're on the side of cleverness. And here's the implication of clever. You're not on the. You have clearly chosen cleverness, because this is what cleverness says, that some suffering is meaningful and some it isn't. But what cleverness implies is that there is no actual way to tell whether there is a piece of wisdom that you could have known to obtain something without suffering at all. So like all suffering is meaningless now if cleverness is the case. So that's terrible, because like it means that you can go through suffering and there's no meaning. There's no meaning at all to any of the suffering that you went through. So like maybe there's a way to get muscular in the gym without suffering. You feel the bodily pain, but you didn't suffer, you know? And you're suffering right now, and your suffering is meaningless and you shouldn't. So like the implication of cleverness is very, very terrible. Like, because it means suffering is inherently meaningless, because you never know, like, you know, like, you never know. Maybe the suffering you're going through is not the right choice. Maybe you're just not wise enough. Maybe you're just not clever enough, you know, about your decision in life. And suffering could be avoided, you know. So this means that there might be a way to get muscular without suffering in the gym and without waking up early. There might be a way to become rich entrepreneur and successful and with a healthy mind with it being easy, without it being hard, without going through any difficulty in life. And I think many people that are on self-improvement, especially successful people, will say, well, that's absurd. How can you be successful in life and not go through suffering? You know? And they're kind of tending on the suffering side. But then another problem arises. Like, if it is true that the suffering that comes from eating a piece of shit is meaningless, and like that suffering is meaningless, you cannot prove as a fact that suffering in the gym is meaningful then. Because then if cleverness is the case, that means like you never know what suffering is. There's always a possibility that there is a wisdom that you don't know about that would make the suffering you're going through in your life right now avoidable or not, you know. So the suffering might be meaningless, you know. So this is why the problem is so important, because by deciding on which one is the case, either it's suffering or cleverness, I told you, you cannot pick both at the same time, because they contradict each other. They contradict each other perfectly, like complementarily, you know what I'm saying? Like, cleverness is the exact opposite of suffering. Suffering means all suffering in life leads you to a reward, rewards you in some form, and gets you to success. And cleverness says that suffering is avoidable and meaningless, and you have to be the thing that gets you success in life is being wise and smart and intelligent and making the right choices. And you cannot have those two at the same time. You cannot. Either one of them is true. You cannot say that they're both true in their own way and there's a cap. No. either one of them is true, in this universe. And which one of them is it? Fuck me. Because, like, it doesn't. Because, like, on one hand, you could probably agree that eating a piece of shit is not that intelligent. And even though it's, like, an immense amount of suffering, it's more suffering than going 10 times to the gym early in the morning. It's more suffering. Like, try eating a piece of shit. It's, like, immense suffering. I haven't tried it, and I'm convinced it's immense suffering. But it doesn't seem to turn you into an entrepreneur overnight. It doesn't seem to make you instantly muscular. It doesn't seem to give you any sort of reward, even though it's like immense suffering. So it means that if you avoid eating that piece of shit, that's a wise choice, and you made that wise choice to avoid that unnecessary suffering. So this seems to hint towards cleverness being the answer. But then you trying to avoid pain at the gym and trying to go as easy as possible on yourself will not lead to gains. And you, like, as an entrepreneur, trying to avoid the hard stuff might not lead you to being successful. So this means that the suffering side might be true, So which one of them is it? They cannot be true at the same time. It's a really, really important choice because they have crazy implications. Like, the implication of the suffering is that literally any form of suffering you go through, no matter how stupid it is, will reward you in exact proportion to how much you're suffering. So if you want to be successful right now, then go outside and run out naked and get the police called on you. And you will be a successful entrepreneur and muscular and everything you want. Do it. If you go through that or eat a piece of shit and get sick, go to the hospital and go through all that suffering, and you will be successful. That's what this means. That's a crazy fucking implication. I cannot fucking believe that the universe is this fucking cruel. I cannot. Because, like, the implication of suffering means that suffering is unavoidable. You have to suffer immensely to get immense rewards. Horrible. That's horrible. That's a terrifying implication. And the implication of cleverness, which is the opposite of what I just described, which means that you have to make the right and intelligent choices to avoid suffering and get the reward you want, or minimize suffering, right? And get the rewards. And cleverness says, don't eat the piece of shit. That's unwise, and that's gonna make you suffer needlessly and meaninglessly. So you need to do this and that and this and that and this and that, and your life will be successful, right? You might think that the cleverness one is, like, nice, because, like, it means that you can be successful in life without suffering, and that sounds good at all. But no, it also has terrifying implications. It means that all suffering is meaningless. So no matter how much you suffer in life, it's gonna get you nowhere. It's going to be meaningless, and you're probably not going to get any reward from it. You're going to just keep suffering and forever until you die, probably, and you're not going to, like, make it anywhere. That's a possibility by you just not knowing something that someone else knew. But you might be like, but just start learning, just start reading books. Well, there's no way to tell just how much suffering can be avoided. No matter how much you read, no matter how much you do this and that, life will always be unfair. That's the thing. That's the most terrifying thing about cleverness, because life would always be unfair. You will always be treated unfairly, and you will always suffer meaninglessly. That's what cleverness implies. Terrifying and horrible. So both suffering implies something horrible, and both cleverness implies something horrible. So the implications of both are horrible. So which of them are true? I want none of them to be true. And to solve this fucking problem, I came to the thought that the universe cannot be inherently cruel, as an assumption. Because generally the things that are cruel tend to be unrealistic. Because the universe is kind of a gentleman and likes things being smooth and consistent. This is why science is possible. Because, like, if the universe wasn't a gentleman, if the universe wasn't consistent and smooth, then science would be impossible in it, because the universe would be, like, crazily inconsistent. Like, all of a sudden, all the laws of gravity are suddenly... Page 130, yeah. Like, look. This falls down again. If I drop it, it falls down again, right? But imagine, like, an inconsistent universe. A universe that is just entirely unpredictable. This will all of a sudden start falling up without any single reason. A Mickey Mouse face would appear in the sky for no fucking reason. A giant giraffe would just appear in the middle of the ocean. Like, shit would just be crazy, bro. Like, in a universe that is inconsistent. It would be like a video game that it's glitched out of its mind, And you clearly know that the universe doesn't do that. The universe is a gentleman. It's always consistent. Maybe it's difficult to predict by science, but it's consistent. You know. So yeah. So here's where I'm going with this. If you think that like both suffering is like cruel and cleverness is also cruel because it means suffering is meaningless. And generally, what is cruel, I don't think it should be true. I think it's a bit unwise and unicorny to consider it true, because in this universe everything is like consistent, right? So like for example, the existence of hell is really inconsistent because suffering is a state of change. It's something wanting to change, right? It's craving change, right? So infinite and eternal suffering is like it doesn't really make sense because suffering is made as something like as a means to an end, as something to change. Your hand is in the stove, so the suffering of your hand burning in the stove is there as a biological signal for you to tell you that you should take your hand for something to change, the hand to go back, you know? So suffering is there as a means to an end. So you cannot have like infinite suffering. That doesn't make sense from a universal standpoint, right? And I think that same goes for something that is cruel. I think it doesn't make sense for the universe to be like fucking randomly cruel, you know? So I'm assuming from the start that neither suffering nor cleverness is true. So I need to find one of them with a caveat. So the thing I've kind of come up with, the theory that I've come up with, and that I'm deciding to live my life upon, I'm going to live my life by this theory. By that, this claims this should be the answer to the problem of suffering versus cleverness, and that is cleverness with a caveat. So cleverness with a caveat is the cleverness theory applies. So basically, yes, you eating shit is not a good idea. It's suffering that is like meaningless and not going to get you anywhere. But the caveat is that suffering is not rendered meaningless. Like suffering will always get you a reward, but that suffering is always avoidable. You can also always get the rewards that suffering would have given you. So like suffering always gives you an reward, but that suffering is avoidable to get the same reward if you're clever enough about it. That's cleverness with a caveat. So like cleverness applies, so you don't have to suffer unnecessarily to get what you want. And at the same time, suffering is not meaningless either because it will always get you somewhere. So problem solved. This is the only theory that seems to have like some like consistency in it because it's not cruel and horrible, right? The implications are not cruel and horrible. It means we live in a meaningful universe, and the hero can come and write a book that can literally render your life with no suffering and full success, you know? And there is always hope. There is always something better, and suffering always gets you somewhere, but it's not always necessary. So this is perfect. This is how it should be. And yeah, it also has like some other caveats that, like there is a caveat, of course, because it's really hard to tell sometimes when suffering is avoidable or not, or like. Okay, I'm not gonna get into this because I'm just really tired and I don't want to talk about so much shit. But yeah, basically, and this gives me a new a new way to see the master key system. A new way to see the master key system is the ultimate wisdom, the ultimate cleverness, so to call it, because the master key system is basically like a tool to like. It's not really a tool. It's a truth of the universe that if you abide by its laws, you get everything you want in life, and all suffering is just avoided. Or at least like most suffering, maybe only like the meaningful pleasant suffering is left, or like because for some reason sometimes like sadness feels good, for example. So like I don't know, it's a bit nuanced. Whatever, I'm just gonna stop this video right now and just eat something. I don't know, I'm gonna rest today on this has been a fucking hard day, even though I did nothing, just from reading this book, all the contemplations and things that has woken up in me, and all this thing about presence, man. I'm just gonna eat and just rest. I'm just filming this video right now to tell you because this is crazy what just happened. I'm not gonna get into the context of what I did and everything because I just go off on tangents and start talking like nonstop. But there is a memory. Like every time I have a memory, like I remember something that happened some time in the past in my life, I it points to somewhere, you know? Like there is always, whenever a memory comes, there's that feeling that it points to somewhere. It points to a certain time. It's associated with a certain time frame. Whenever you remember that, you also remember this and this and this and that. Like there's never ever ever a memory when a memory comes up, you know? Because it comes up as a thought. And a thought that is kind of like feels somewhat like vivid, like the past, you know? The past is always like vivid and like it was like this, it was like that. And but I've never in my life had a memory that doesn't point anywhere. Like like a pointer in programming, if you know, or like an like every memory gives an arrow to a certain time, right? I've never ever in my life had a memory that doesn't point anywhere. What the fuck is this? Like, there's this memory that of me knowing that the mind, it's not like any, like, how do I say it? How the fuck do I explain this memory with words? It's like, it's a memory of me knowing, but not me, Popescu Paul, this person. It's a memory of like an information that I feel like I've known my entire life, and maybe even before that, like that the mind is just the mind has no effect over you because you are just here. But it's not like phrased and understood in the way of like mindfulness. There's no such thing as like it's before I've ever heard about mindfulness ever. It's before like I've ever heard about the power of now and meditation and mindfulness, all of that. This memory goes beyond everything and it's just understood in its own way, completely different to like everything else. It's like a memory of me knowing, but not me, like not as a person, of like the entity or whatever the fuck it is. I'm trying to make it come back. It's not coming back right now, but I'm certain, like, I don't know where the fuck did it come, because, like, I've heard from someone that we always dream, almost always, but we rarely remember the dream. So it's not like we rarely dream. It's we always dream and we very, very rarely remember it. So it feels like we don't dream much. But because most of the dreams we don't remember, even though they actually happened. So that's a very first-hand of experience of like memory erasing, getting erased immediately. But maybe I've known this in a dream. Maybe. Like it doesn't point anywhere. The memory always has like a subject. Like I was here, I was doing that, I was thinking this, right? And it's associated with that. But this memory, it doesn't even have a subject. It doesn't even have a me. It doesn't even have a me in it. It doesn't even have a me doing something. It doesn't even have a me thinking about something. It's like a memory that like doesn't have anything else to it. But it's just something that I remember because it's associated with the past. But I don't know what past because it's like nowhere in my life. Like, I don't know, you can make many theories. Like, is it my previous life or is it like maybe a dream somewhere? Like, I have no fucking clue, but it's like something that, like, it's as if I remembered something like from very, very, very long ago. Like, very long ago. I don't know how long ago, but it's a memory that, like, the mind has no effect. The mind is just mind and you is just you. It's like, it's not like in the mindfulness way. It's not like in the meditation way. No, it doesn't have anything to do with that, even though it sounds exactly like what they say. And maybe it is, but it's in its own way. It just sees like, it's just a memory of a state. Not even a state because there's no me in it. What the fuck am I saying, bro? Well, I might be trying to explain this on video, but it felt like I've always had this memory, but I don't remember having it. But I've always feels like I've always had it, but I haven't had it. I don't remember having it, but I know I've always. What the fuck is going on? I'm so fucking confused. I've never in my life had a memory like this, like that has absolutely nothing to it. If you've ever programmed in your life, it's as if like if you make an object-oriented class for every memory, this memory is like a fucking ghost pointer or some shit like that. It's just like an object that doesn't have any fucking valuable initialized or some shit. I'm making this example for nerds. Maybe you gotta get like this does nothing. There's no subject. There's no time frame. There's no. I'm gonna try to remember it again. When I remember it again, I'll tell it on this video. I just know it's a memory because for some reason my mind tells me it's a memory, but there's nothing else to it. It's just like a memory that tells me like that like in life, mind doesn't affect you. Mind is just mind, and you are just do your thing. It's not like in the mindfulness way. It's not like in a present, like in a the power of now way. It's just me doing my thing, and not even me, but like it's just entity doing its thing, and mind having no effect. Maybe I was like somewhat half enlightened some part in my previous life or some shit. I don't fucking know, man. I have no fucking clue. Let's just end the video right now. I'm just gonna go shower.